Hello everybody, welcome back to Memory Gamma. Today we're going to move on to one of the last two smaller factions before we move back onto our bigger ones and other things. We are going to look at species 8472. The most, well, in terms of at least the Borg, the most dangerous species that they have ever encountered. Now, they are only known as species 8472 because that is their Borg designation. They are the 8,472nd species encountered by the Borg. The actual name for them in the series and in the game is not known. It is, I think, the Undine if you go to the beta canon of things like Star Trek Online. However, they are mostly known here as either species or, oh god, not them again. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a video, a bit like the Kazon, because there is only one class of ship, which only has 3 named ships. I'm going to do the whole faction as a bit of a breakdown. Now, immediately, the first thing you'll see is that these are absolute powerhouses of ships. However, you will probably not see very many, if any, of the upgrades anywhere in the game. Partly because almost all of them are locked to bioships, but also because they haven't been upgraded, they haven't been updated, they haven't had any new releases since Bioship Omega came out, and even that was a booster. So they are very much on the back foot. Now, the absolute ship, the base ship, is a brilliant ship, and that will show up all the time. So you want something big and powerful, bioships are a way to go, especially ones that fly normally. So, there are 3 name ships, as I said, and then there is a generic ship as well. So, 3 name ships. Now, uniquely for this, they are 3 name ships of the same class that have identical upgrade loadouts. So, we'll go from the top. We have Bioship Omega. So, 6 attack dice, 2 defense, 5 hull, 6 shields. So, it's already as maneuverable as an Intrepid, as powerful as a Borg ship, and a combined 11 toughness puts it a bit bigger than the biggest of Federation ships. It gets evade, target lock, scan, regenerate, no battle stations, and the Bioship Omega's ability is probably the most hard to actually trigger in game. However, I think it's quite fun. So during the deal damage step, so you've rolled your attack dice, rolled your defense dice, done all the compare results. You've got to right now. I'm actually handing you out either shield loss or damage cards. If you've done at least 2 critical damage to their hull, you can flip those 2 critical damage face down. So instead of giving them 2 crits, you give them 2 normal damage, and you can rotate that ship's facing 90 degrees left or right. Reminiscent of the episode of Voyager when the bioship hits Voyager and you see Voyager spinning off to the side like that. So yes, there is a chance for, if you double crit the hull, you can spin the ship and it will then have to move on its new location. Now, it requires you getting 2 crits to the hull. And there's not an awful lot of ships where if you're doing 2 crits to the hull, that's going to be almost a dead ship. So it's not going to happen all the time. Some ships aren't going to care. You do it to a Borg ship, oh wow, it's just giving it a free spin maneuver. Other ships, it might be a bit more dangerous, but it's a nice ability. It's just very hard to trigger. Bioship Beta, when defending during the compare result steps, you may cancel 1 hit, place an Aux power token beside your ship if you do so. Basic defensive ability, no problem with that. It's when defending, so you can do it every time you defend. Once each per attack, you can just take an Aux power token to cancel a hit. And Bioship Alpha, when attacking with primary weapon, if you do at least 3 damage, you give them an Aux power token as well. Again, brilliant. Both of Alpha and Beta, both of them have abilities which are very easy to trigger and will just do good work in of themselves. Now you will notice triple tech, double weapon. There is no crew slots in 8472. Since each bioship is a single pilot, and that's it, there is no crew upgrade slots. Now, of course, this being attack wing, you can put people on here that add slots and then go from there. Not a lot of people do that. If bioship turns up, normally it's a generic bioship captained by either a Khan or a Picard for a free action or for cheaper upgrades. And the generic bioship loses a shield, loses a weapon. So you get triple tech, one weapon. They are also, as you may notice, thunderously expensive at 36 and 38 points. I'm going to put Bioship Omega down. Since these slots are completely identical, I'm just going to take Omega. Captains. Can you see there is 3 captains, 1 for each of the named ships, and then generic 8472 pilots. Now, something which you may recognise and which you might notice if you look at the captain skills, you have an 8, a 7 and a 2. You almost need a skill 4 captain as well. Then you'll have the whole set. So, Bioship Beta Pilot. You'll also notice that these are extremely expensive. So the Bioship Beta Pilot is only 8 skill with a talent slot, but is 6 points. Bioship Alpha Pilot is 7 skill with a talent for 6 points. Now, the Bioship Beta Pilot, when attacking, you can reroll 1 dice. You can reroll 1 blank result whenever you attack. It's a tiny bit of passive quality. The main thing that Beta has is an ability that if your ship's destroyed and there's another friendly ship at range 1 to 2, that captain goes away and Beta becomes your new captain. So you can pass him around the fleet. Also, if Bioship Beta Pilot has got an elite talent with him, then you can bring that elite talent with you. Now, that's nice. You know, your ship dies unexpectedly, you can save your captain and the talent. That might be something you want to do. Especially if it's something like Tax Superiority Commander, where you want the high captain skill for the bonus dice for the reroll. It might be something that gives you passive quality, passive bonuses. Could be Borg Alliance to keep your drone tokens. And yes, that is allowed. Borg Alliance elite talent on the Romulans is simply it cannot be equipped to a Borg captain or on a Borg ship. 8472 captain on an 8472 ship, totally allowed, and gets you a Borg upgrade slot on the 8472 bioship, thus completely obfuscating the entire point of them being unassimilatable. Is that even a word? Anyway, so, next one is the Alpha Pilot. Every round at the start of the planning phase, after all others have chosen their manoeuvres, you can choose a ship at range 1, look at their manoeuvre, then you choose your manoeuvre. Now, they cannot change their manoeuvre after you've looked at it. But also, you can't act that round. Now, I get that's why it's happening. It's meant to be he's using his telepathy to focus in and work out what they're doing before he does something. I say he, there's 5 genders. I'm using he. You know, any 8472 species members out there, I apologise if I've misgendered you. Yes, so you know, he's using his telepathic ability to scan the enemy and go, oh, that's what they're doing, this is what I'm going to do. Now, the problem is you don't get an action afterwards. And you're only skill 7, so there's going to be people moving after you. Even if you know what that ship's doing, they're still going to be moving after you and can act in response to what you've done. So, it's a nice ability, but, yeah. And then Bioship Omega Pilot. Action, you can disable this card and 2 of your shields, pick your ship at range 1, and put a critical damage on their hull. Just give them a fatal damage card. Now, it's nice. He's skill 2, he's 1 point. However, this card may only be purchased for an 8472 bioship. I think they realised that if that ability was allowed to be put on any ship in the game, 2 skill, 2 points cross faction for the ability just to hand out crits at range 1, that would have been a bit much. I mean, it's not a bad ability. And also being skill 2 means that you're going to be acting absolute first before anyone else can do anything. So you can do the disable and put a crit. And also disabling your captain, you go from skill 2 to skill 1. Big whoop. It's not like you're disabling a skill 8 or 9 captain. For this, we're going to put Beta Pilot on for the passive reroll. There is not an Admiral for the 8472, nor Ambassador or Starship Constructions. Elite Talents. There are 2. There are 2 captains that have talent slots. There are 2 elite talents. You have Telepathy. Discard this card before you move to change your maneuver. It's sort of like a talent slot version of original Uhura. You know, oh, actually, you know, where he's gone is not what I wanted, is not where I thought he was going to go. I'm going to smash into him. Change. It's a bit of a crutch. It's a little bit of a, I don't really, you know, I'm not 100% confident what I think they're going to be doing. But if someone pulls out something out of the bag, if they've got face down talents like Kirk or Shinzon or anyone like that, or Duras, they've got something that allows them to go, psych, here's a surprise. You can go, okay, well, here's a way of me countering that. So it's not a bad idea. And the weak shall perish. Now, the weak will perish, pardon me. This is a very nice upgrade. It's 5 points. It's not faction locked to bioships, but it costs an additional 5 points if it's not on a bioship. When you fire your primary weapon, after you've rolled your dice, discard the weak will perish, disable your captain, and you can re-roll any number of attack dice twice. So, double target lock. It's a nice ability. It is once, but it might be what you want for the Omega to make sure you trigger Omega, for the double crit. Being able to re-roll. You might even want to go, you know what, I'll just re-roll everything once. I didn't roll very well. I didn't get any crits. I will re-roll everything bar the crits because it gives me a chance for some more. And then you can re-roll all the stuff that is still blanks and battle stations again. It just gives you a way of maximising your ability. Now, Bioship Beta Pilot gives you a 1 blank reroll, which you might want to use if you haven't got enough stuff to make Weak Will Perish worth it. But also, this is a discard. So obviously once that's gone, he becomes useful. Tech and weapons. So, there is a handful of tech upgrades, and I mean just a handful. So, going from the top. The first one, you will notice a little OP symbol. This is Fluidic Space. This is a warp jump-like effect. Anyone that's been playing Attack Wing for any length of time should know any of the warp jump-like effects. They are not allowed in normal Fremont tournament play, and they were banned as well in official WizKids tournaments for the reason of, basically, they just broke the game. People were using them all the time and nothing ever happened. So, instead of making a normal move, discard the card, remove yourself from the play area, and put it back anywhere else in the play area, not at range 1 or 2. You can't act or attack that round. So it's a way of, I'm being chased, I can't get out of it, blip, reposition. Now, it's nice because it can be not within range 1 to 2, so it can be at range 3 of another ship. So you can use it to reposition yourself inside your fleet, give bonuses. Now, you can't act, but if there's passive things that trigger off having friendly ships nearby, Fluidic Space is nice to get in and, reposition. It's also 6 points in a discard, and it stops you from acting or attacking that round. So, Biogenic Field. When defending, you get a bonus defense dice. +3 versus Borg. And whenever an enemy card ability affects any one of your cards, roll 1 attack dice. 3 against Borg effects. If you roll a battle station, the effect is cancelled. Now, that's really, really nice. It's 6 points for 1 defense dice and a 1 dice defense against people messing with you. But it is very, very important, the wording there. It is enemy card ability. Doesn't say crew upgrade, doesn't say tech or weapon. It's card. So that could be an enemy admiral messing with you. That could be, a question mark upgrade. It could be a Borg nanotech. It's any enemy card, even the captain. And you get to roll 1 attack dice to cancel it. 3 against Borg. Now, most Borg stuff won't let you target the 8472. Things like set assimilation tubules and the Borg shield matrix, they have no effect on you. But some of the more modern ones don't have that restriction. And so Biogenic Field allows you to get a roll against that. Very, very good against the Borg. It's not worth 6 points against normal things. But against the Borg, it's totally worth the 6 points. Which is a little bit annoying that it was pointed as if it was always being used against the Borg. However, you're 8472. If the enemy says I'm playing Borg, you can bring 8472 and it's pretty much giving you a good head start. Quantum Singularity, another one of the removal cards. So you remove it from play as an action, discard all tokens beside your ship apart from Walk's power tokens, and then in the end phase come back somewhere else. Not within range 1 to 3. Now, that's the end phase, so it automatically skips the combat phase. You're not on the board, so you can't be affected by things. And also, it does discard all tokens. So if someone's gone, here's diplomacy, you can't attack, you can't do this. Or if someone's gone, here's a Dala or a bounty token. Remove all those tokens. The only thing you keep is Orc's power tokens. So it's useful if someone's put a bunch of stuff on you, permanent effect, temporary effect, anything like that, just remove them. Now, is any beside your ship. So not you know, time tokens on cards. It's just anything beside your ship. So I said bounty token, reputation token. They both go beside your ship. Continuous effect token, for example, off of Torg. You know, put his token by the ship. Yes, you disable all the upgrades. However, you can remove his continuous effect token, at which point you no longer suffer the detrimental effect of his continuous effect. Bioelectric interference. Discard the card. Target every other ship at range 1 to 3 of your ship. They must all discard all tokens beside their ships, apart from Orc's power tokens. If they discard a cloak token, they immediately raise their shields. And also, you're immune to target lock this round. Hello, Mr. Federation Fleet. Did you bring 1,000 tokens? Boom. Gone. Yeah, so it's a nice upgrade. I definitely do like it. Now, it is also... I'm not saying this, but on almost every single one of these cards, there is the line that says this upgrade may only be purchased for a Species 8472 ship. If any upgrade doesn't say that, I will specify it. Fluidic Space is just costs more if you're not 8472. So bioelectric interference is nice for clearing all the tokens. You've got electrodynamic fluid. This is an action, but it's 2 different actions. You can action discard to do a second maneuver with a speed of 3 or less. So you've moved, action move again for a discard, or action disable to sensor echo even if you're not cloaked. Now, that's really nice. It's an action disable, so if you can re-enable it somehow with abilities, crew, captain, whatever, or friendly things, being able to basically action sensor echo is really nice. Pair that with a Romulan cloaking device and disable this card before my sensor echo action if you're not cloaked, which can be a bank sensor echo, and you get the whole picture. You know, all the stuff that normally works with sensor echoes works with electrodynamic fluid. Biological technology. This is coming on, and I'll explain why. At the start of every planning phase, you put a mission token on board the card. And then, when you attack, you can spend up to 2 to have up to 2 better bonus attack dice. And the same when you defend. It's just, as the game goes on, you get mission tokens and you can spend them as you attack and defend to get bonus dice. It's passive bonuses, you don't have to do any actions for it, it just builds up as the game goes on. And, you know, no 8472 bioship is made worse by bringing biotech. The last couple, or the last 4 I should say, you have an extraordinary immune response. When defending, you can discard the card to roll a bonus defense dice for every damage card by your ship. So that's when you're pretty much almost dead and you need to survive. That gives you a 1 chance to have up to your maximum of +3 for the rule of 3. Neuropeptides is a discard for an action bar action as a free action. Now that's nice, and it is only 2 points. So, you know, that's nice. It's definitely nice. However, it's a discard. So obviously, there's very, very, very few ways you can bring back or prevent the discard of a tech upgrade. And seeing as it's locked to 8472, there's a lot of other ways which are intrinsic to other species. Resistant hull. You can ignore enemy scan tokens when you roll your defense dice, and if a nanotech upgrade affects your ship or your captain or one of your upgrades, you get a defense dice, and on an evade result, you cancel the effect. Basically it's a biogenic field in miniature that works against everything, but it only works against Borg nanotech, but you get a defense dice, so it's a 3 and 8 rather than a 2 and 8. And organic conduits is when you do a red maneuver, you can discard a treat as a white maneuver. Gives you a 1-time red to a white. For a single point, nothing to complain about. Now, weaponry. Now, there is 6 cards. Yes, 6 cards. From the bottom. I know, strange, but we're going to go through it. Energy weapon. During the activation phase, if an enemy ship ends its movement in your forward firing arc, you can discard the card to make an immediate primary weapon attack at -3 dice. But you get an Orc's power token. So you want to do it on a ship that moves in front of you after you've already done your action. So, I mean, it's 4 points for a -3 dice. So you're rolling 3 dice. 4 if you're at range 1. Now, it is, you know, it's nice. It can be useful. It gives you a free extra attack. It's not a massively powerful attack. So you could bring that. I must admit, not a lot of people bring weapon upgrades on a bioship. 6 dice is generally enough for most people. So that about the scimitar, but the scimitar's got some nice stuff that's locked to that. So this is biological attack, the next one. At the end of the activation phase, if your ship base is touching an enemy ship base, discard bio attack and disable your captain. Do 1 crit to their hull and then disable a crew upgrade. That's kind of like a mini boarding action, like the 847-2 injuring Harry Kim during Scorpion. So, I mean, again, it's nice, but it requires your base touching. So either you crashing into them or them crashing into you. Possible, but dicey. So, now we're going to the weapons. We have Energy Blast. 5 dice, target lock disable. Basically, it's a fancy torpedo for 6 points that gets +2 dice if fired from a bioship. So you're paying 6 points to roll 1 additional attack dice. No. Very much not here. Biological weapon. Discard the card, 5 dice attack. If the attack hits, you get to discard 1 crew upgrade for each battle station result. So the biological weapon, it's built around you roll your dice, and you don't want to reroll the battle stations, because the battle station results will discard crew upgrades, but provided you hit. You're getting 5 dice. Even if it goes to 7 with biotech, if you roll 2 battle stations, that means there's only 5 damage maximum that the enemy has to cancel. And if the attack doesn't hit, then it doesn't do anything. So it's extremely dicey as to whether that ever actually triggers, because sometimes you'll want to convert the battle stations to guarantee the attack hitting. But if you do that, you can't discard crew upgrades. And also, you're paying 6 points to roll less attack dice than you normally roll. The next one is another Energy Blast. This one is a target lock discard for 8 printed, so up to 11 as a rule of 3. But again, locked to a bioship. You're paying 8 points to have 2 bonus attack dice. No, and it's 1 shot only. So, again, very expensive. Very, very expensive. And finally, we have the energy focusing ship. Now, this, I've mentioned it a few times, the episode Scorpion in Voyager, end of season 3, beginning of season 4. Anyone that watched the episode would have gone, oh, here comes some bioships. Oh my word, that was a planet. Yeah, that's this card. This card is the energy focusing ship. This is the we're focus firing and killing a planet with this. Doesn't quite work that way. So this is an attack, discard, target 2 to 3. Only get 6 dice, and you're paying 10 points for this. Yes, 10 points for 6 dice. You want a 10-point weapon, bring Photonic Cannon. It gives you 10 dice. But energy focusing ship, you target everybody, all friendly ships at range 1 that haven't fired yet. They cannot attack at all this round. Instead, they add 2 attack dice to your attack roll for each ship that you've targeted. So if you target 4 ships, that's woo, +8. Rule of 3. Yeah, rule of 3 applies. So this is no. The maximum you're getting out of this is 9 dice for 10 points, and it means you and 2 other ships are focused entirely on this one weapon. Now, before the rule of 3, this was amazing, and you can play at home. You don't have to use the rule of 3. You do not have to use the rule of 3 by any means. You can, it's your game at home. When you play it, you can play it how you like. If you don't want to use the rule of 3, go for it. However, this makes no difference delineation between a friendly 847-2 bioship, as it should be canonically, and a friendly 6-point Romulan scout ship or 9-point Tholian webweaver. So you could bring energy focusing ship on a bioship and then just pad out 10 tiny 6-point ships, and then they all feed in dice. So it is just any friendly ship, which I suppose is a benefit for it. It means you don't have to worry about having you must have bioships. But I mean, in normal games, the rule of 3 kills this. It just completely kills this. So much so that I have weapon slots on this card. I don't actually need to put weapons on the bioship. The bioship is terrifying enough, what with the rerolls it gets from Weak Will Perish and the bioship pilot. The biotech and the biogenic field give it some more defenses, and the bioelectric field allows it to go and nuke all of the tokens. So yeah, they're the weapon cards. A bit underwhelming. Now, of course, I'm always hoping that one day we're going to get some updates to the 8472, you know, some different captains. There's the 8472 training facility that Voyager found, where they're pretending to be Starfleet officers to try and work out a way to infiltrate the Academy upon fire night at the Vulcan nightclub. You know, and we want replicant Boothby, we want the crew members there, you want anything like that, some other ships. There's no other canonical ships inside the series, but obviously there is beta canon ships from games and other literature which they could do, smaller ships and bigger ships and that sort of thing. So that's the bioship. I've also ended it on 66 points. So as I said, this is the entire 8472 faction. Like the Kazon, they're such a tiny faction, done them all in one video. If there's something you particularly want me to try or do with 8472, drop me a message, drop a thing in the comments, and I'll read it, and we'll see if we can do that. I will say an absolute basic build for the 8472 bioship is a generic bioship with Captain Picard. That's it. It comes out as, 43 points for the faction penalty for Picard, but it gets you action battle stations on a bioship. What more do you need? And actually, that is a question. What more do you need with that? When you've got that much power, you've got that manoeuvrable, because the manoeuvre dial is a nice manoeuvre dial. It's standard Burrell, you know, standard most ships. So it gets the greens, it gets to come about, it gets hard turns. It doesn't move particularly fast, but doesn't need to. So that's the 8472. Thank you very much for joining me. And I said, if you have got any ideas or things you want me to do, drop them in the comments. Thank you very much.